Oh. Hmm. Oh, well, I'm live. How about that? It gave me a screen that I hadn't seen. Okay, well, welcome. Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. I just did something that I don't normally do, but I went through and I checked on the Anyone Can Farm Experience on YouTube to see uh, how many people are listening to these live streams. Not that it really matters to me, but I was just kind of curious. And there seems to be like a pretty consistent, uh, right around 200 people. And then I kind of looked at some of the other guys that make videos, and they're like 336,000. And in a way, it makes you feel like, gee, what am I doing wrong? No, I don't know. I don't know how that works, and I don't really care. I mean, not really. It's not going to stop me from doing this, but I had one video that got. I'll go back and look at it because it was shocking. Let's see. All right, this takes me a minute because I got to type this all in and see if you can make sense of this. Okay. When you know it's not. Here it is. It's how to grow your own pig food on pasture. And it's got 336,000 views. But then a video that I did say the other day, beef butchering time on the homestead, got 398 views. So it's sort of an unbalanced thing. I don't know. And I just know that there's more to it than I know. And that's fine because I'm not really a content creator. Because if you're a content creator, you're going to say what people want to hear because then more people will watch what you say and you get more views. And there are people that do this and actually make a living at it. And that's not what I do. I kind of do this because of this. And it's an email that I got this from a very nice lady in Minnesota named Jennifer. I won't mention her last name because she didn't say I should, but there's a lot of girls named Jennifer. But she listens to this and she says, this was kind of nice. I thought this was kind of a nice gesture. This made it worth it, right? I have been listening to your Tuesday YouTube video for a year. First, your experience, our wisdom that I have taken note and shared with my family. My husband and I hope to expand our vegetable garden on our acres of land in Wisconsin to include laying hens and milking cows. Well, it says she's from Minnesota. I live in Minnesota. All right, well, whatever. Second reason I listened to you, there was something else, but I'll leave that out. Second reason I listened to you is you give a no nonsense advice about the systems people experience in this life. In this life. I like that. I've been listening to old broadcasts by Jackie Petru on Sweet Liberty in 2005. She has many conversations with Alan Watt. I have not heard of him. Alan Watt spent his life trying to help people understand the systems of this life. Systems of this life. that was impressive when I heard that. And there's some other stuff she's advising me to go listen to them, and I will. I will. I'll check them out. And then she says, I have a selfish reason to ask this of you, to listen to this guy, Alan Watt, which I will. You speak from the conscience of your heart. I hope more people will learn to think, and there is a great deal to think about what Alan Watt has to say. You may consider checking him out. But yeah, I do speak from the conscience of my heart, I guess. I mean, I hadn't really thought about that, but after I read that, Jill printed that off and put it at my place where I come in to sit by the wood stove once in a while. So I read it and I went back out and resumed my duties, and it made me. I thought about it, and it just so happens that day, that was Monday. Jill and I were sitting, and our routine goes something like this. She gets up before I do. When I come out, coffee's ready. So my first stop, or second stop really, is the coffee pot. And then I come in, sit near the wood stove, and usually the room is nice and warm by then. It's pretty cold here in northern Michigan right now. And, we talk, and then we finish a cup of coffee, and then we go out and jump in the tank out here in the ice cold water, and been doing that for 3 years now. Really like it. And then we're sitting there talking a little bit more, and my sons come in and said, "Hey, Dad, water's not working." And when it's real cold like this, that can be a problem. It can be. So I had to go out and determine where the problem was, and actually what it was. The well house that we have, or the well pit that I built, some of you may remember, I guess 2 years ago, I built this pit, and I built it in the wintertime, and I had to go down 5 feet and then reinstall all the equipment down there. But I built a frame, and then I dropped it down in the hole, and then I backfilled it, and I made a cover for it, and I made it all out of steel siding that I scrounged. And when I backfilled it, that backfill has settled, and it exposed, maybe 8 or 10 inches of steel. And we've had pretty consistent 15 degrees now for a while. And finally, there was a little nipple in there where the water comes up into the sensor device that turns the pump on and off. And it had just started to freeze. So Jill was able to make coffee in the morning. The toilet flushed on my first stop. And so the water was on, but then in between about 7 and 8, whoop, it froze. So I got out there in time, and I've been meaning to get out there and just look at things down in the well pit. But I haven't. And usually I think about the water system. I think about it about the time I have my hair full of shampoo, and think, boy, wouldn't it suck if 10:30 at night the water goes off? I think about that, and then I think I really need to get out there and look things over, right? Because the water system is so important to us. So what happened was I went out and checked it. While I was there, I got it unthawed immediately, and it came on. But I thought, while I'm here, I'm going to change this relay. It's a relay switch, a pressure switch they call it. Many of you may know what I'm talking about. And it's like a $30 item, And you should change them if you use them a lot. You should change them just to make sure that the system is going to stay up. And so here I am thinking about this. And then I'm down there working on this system, because the water system, is not the water system that was here when we bought this farm. The system on this farm was a well, a 20-foot well in the basement of this house, which is just a dirt floor. They call it a Michigan basement. And it had a small pump on it, and it pumped water up to the sink and then to the toilet and the bathroom sink and the shower. That was it. And it wasn't getting it, it gave out. I think we were only here about 6 months and it gave up. And we decided that we were going to put another well in and go a little deeper, because the water wasn't that good. It didn't smell good, didn't taste good, and we weren't too sure about it, and it was so shallow. So we went down 60 feet with a 4-inch casing or 5-inch casing, whatever it is. And, we have really good water now. But then that well is quite a ways from the house. I would say a good 100 yards from the house. And Jill's one of those people that can find by just walking around with something in her hand, a lot of times just 2 pieces of wire, and she can find it. And they punched a hole right there and found it at, I think, 40 feet. But then they went to the next aquifer, which was 60 feet. And so, then we had to distribute that water. And that distribution network on this place is a system. It's a system. And it's been put together a piece at a time. Have to have electricity out there. We have to have water coming back to the house. And then we distribute it from there. So it comes to the house first, and then we push it out to different places. And, we have it in the butcher shop. We have it in the milk house. We have it in what's now the kitchen, the summer kitchen, which was our old butcher shop that we're converting into a store/kitchen and /cabin, which is really working out good. It's really working out good. And so it has to be distributed, and it is a system, right? Are we done? No, we're not done, because we're going to distribute it to. We've already distributed it to apartment on the next 80 over, which belongs to us. And we built an apartment over the milk house, and we're going to distribute it up there, because before long there'll be a bathroom up there that when people stay with us at the apartment over the milk house suite, we're calling it, they'll have water and a toilet and a shower and the things you need if you're going to stay, right? Because we don't want them trouncing into the house in the middle of the night to use the toilet here, or having to go to the outhouse. That would be not as convenient, not as fun, right? So it's a system, and it was built. I designed it so that we could add on, and then there's a whole nother phase to it, and it's the summer water. So when it's not cold out, we can distribute water to the poultry field to take care of all the chickens out there, which there's a lot of them. Let's see, 5 times 80, there'll be 400 out there at a time. And then the brooder, we have to get water to the brooder. We have to get water to all the pigs, all the milk cows have to have it. The beef cow, not so much, because they have a pond. And so we break ice down there for them. It's a lot more convenient, less pump run time, so it might seem like a pain to go down there and break ice, but it's really not. If you give a boy an axe and ask him to go do it, he will disappear for quite a long time and then come up just happy and, yep, I broke the ice. So I was thinking about systems, and I don't want to talk about water systems tonight because there's another system that we've developed over time. We've been here for 20 years, right? I was in the military for 20. Now I've been on Baker's Green Acres, Michigan for 20. And another system that has come out of this that I see daily, and it wasn't developed as a system initially. It was just a family dynamic. But as time has progressed and family members, my children, have left the home and started their own operations, whatever they're doing. We have 8 kids, and there are 2 that are still home, my 2 youngest boys. And, you know, one's 15 or 15, yeah, and one's 13. And so you can kind of see where it's going, you know. Pretty soon we're going to be out of kids. And so do we want to just close it down and just sit on the front porch? I think we really do, because I know we don't. Because I feel at this point, this is off subject slightly, but I feel at this point, 2025, I feel like the small farms bud is about to blossom. I truly feel that, and I can back it up too. You might say, "Oh, it's just coincidence," but I feel as though it's getting ready to blossom. And I'll get into that in a minute, maybe if I think about it. But the system I'm talking about, that if you know it, or if you start thinking about it, it's very handy, very useful in your operation. And that system, I'm just going to refer to it as labor system, hiring labor. And I think I am live. I don't see any comments here. All right. It'd be nice if I could see comments. Hey, Jill, I don't see any comments. Maybe I don't need them because I'm on a roll. I'm on a rant. But she'll come in and she'll fix it. We got a good system. She sets this all up for me, and then I just run my mouth. That's the system. All right, so the labor system. And I experienced some of this today. When you think of labor, I think what it conjures in my mind is, pick and shovel and lift this barge, tote this bale, and, just grunt work. And I don't believe that that's what I'm referring to. I don't. If that was it, I don't think this would be an interesting conversation. What I'm referring to is today, for instance, we have a fella that worked with us last summer for a while. About every Friday, he would come and help us butcher chickens. He's a friend of our family. He's about 19. He's in training to become a firefighter / EMT. And he needs some work on the side. He still lives with his folks. Really nice guy. Really, really good guy. Homeschool. That's how we know them, through homeschool group. And so he was working for my second oldest son. Many of you may know that he is in the process of building a house. And that's a whole chapter in this conversation too. I mean, here's a guy that's 25-ish and just decides, I'm going to build a house. And the confidence that he had going into that was just truly amazing. And when we go to his house now, and it's this nice, beautiful house, big, like, wow, look what you did. Very proud of him. I helped a little bit, not that much, but we did help some. Probably put in about 4 or 5 days over there, but most of it he did. Uh, he's got his own cadre of people that are his friends that helped him, and Parker helped him. Parker cut a lot of the wood. I think Aaron helped him too. So anyway, this guy came over today, and because I texted him, I said, "Hey, you need some hours." Yeah. So he came over today, and he hadn't done any of the work that we needed to do today. So what needed to be done today in our morning meeting was, okay, we gotta knock down 2 pigs and get them processed up for one of our customers. But before we can bring them in, we need a couple of people in the shop to clear off some beef parts that were in there. We had knocked down a beef about 3 weeks ago. And so we put together a plan today. And this guy, Josiah is his name, was part of the plan. Only thing is, he never done any of this work, knocking down pigs. So I was able to pair him with my son, Jim, who's the 15-year-old, maybe 16. I should know, shouldn't I? But Jim's an old hand at it. He will fire up the tractor, put the rifle on there, go out there with the chain and a knife, and he's just as happy as he can be working by himself. Bang, shoots a pig, bleeds it, picks it up, brings it to the shop, weighs it up, gets it up on the hoist, and then starts getting the hair off. We use a torch now to do it, like a weed burner torch. We do the whole thing with the weed burner. We don't scald them anymore, which in the wintertime like this is a lot handier than heating up the scalding water. And you pull them out, and a day like today, 15 degrees, they start to freeze real quick, and the water on the deck starts to freeze. So it's not that good. Burning them is a lot better. And we've learned a lot doing that. And so that's the way we prefer to do it now. For our class, we still do the scald and scrape. And then the second one, we'll do the torch method. But my boys prefer the torch method. So, hey, it's out about the same. So they do that. So Jim and Josiah were working together doing this. And I saw Josiah kind of standing back a lot, like, well, I'm not really sure what to do. And Jim went through the whole first pig, got it all eviscerated, all that stuff, split in two, and then carried shop and laid on tables. And then tomorrow it'll be firmed up and we'll be able to break it down. And then the second one, I caught Jim coming back from the house, and I said, hey, this time, here's the secret sauce here. This time, stand back a little bit and hand the torch to Josiah and allow him to get in there and do it. And then if he's not doing it quite right, tell him. If he's doing it right, yeah, that's good. That's good. So by the end of the second pig, Josiah, real world experience on this, actually doing the thing, actually doing it. And so it's a system that is a win-win system. We pay him, for his work here, and he gets an hourly wage, a good one. And he also gets experience that he'll take with him the rest of his life. He will have that experience the rest of his life. So we're going to do a couple more pigs next week, and I may just, have Jim do the kill and the bleed, and then say, hey, Jim, I need you to do this. Josiah, why don't you just finish this up? And I'm relatively confident, like 90% confident, that he won't even have a question for me. He will know what to do, and he will execute it. So it's win-win, because we've trained a guy that now we can utilize his new experience and confidence, and he gets something out of it too. He's getting an hourly wage, plus he's getting experience that he can take with him the rest of his life. And does it end there? No, it doesn't, because he's got a younger brother. And at some point, I'll say, "Hey, what about Liam there? Does he need some work?" And then if that materializes, we'll say, "Hey, Josiah, why don't you train him?" And so on and so on and so on. You see where this can go? So now we've got a group of people that know how to do something that, sure, I can do that. I mean, I'm the one that trained Jim. I'm the one that trained Kyle, Joe, Sam. I trained them all, and then they kind of work together and they figure out their best way of doing it. And I like piss off. As long as the product comes out and it's right, I'm fine with it, And I don't want to leave Keith out. Keith's self-training though. He's mostly self-training. He came at a gap. He came behind my daughter Dorothy, and then in between Dorothy and Rachel. So he was kind of on his own. And him and I worked together quite a bit on butchering. So I guess maybe it was me that trained him more so than the other boys. Could be. I don't know. It's kind of a blur. It's in the past. But this is a system that I think needs more thought, because let's say Josiah was to say to me, "Well, I can put in a couple more days. We're going to do a beef on Thursday, so we're going to be knocking down a really big steer, and he will work with Jim on that." I won't have much to do with it, except they don't like shooting the big animals, so I'll probably do that. And then I will bring the beef up to the house. They don't like doing that. That can be tricky in the snow, so it'll probably be me that does that. But other than that, I'll just, okay, you guys got it, and I will go and do something else. Maybe I'll be breaking down pigs or something else, and the next thing I'll know, hey, we're done. And they'll have the hide in a pile. They'll have the internal organs in totes. They will have the stomach loaded in the front end loader, and so on. The whole thing will be done. The animal will be hung, and we will leave it there for several days before we quarter it up and bring the parts in to the shop to come out. So you can see how when you bring labor in, you really don't want them doing just grunt work. You really want to be training them so they can train others and train others. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying about this small farm movement getting ready to blossom, right? We're going into areas as a group to where the small farm isn't going to be just a specialized niche group that relies on the big system, right? So, in a lot of agriculture right now, guys have specialized, and they'll say, well, for instance, I buy young steers, and then I raise them up to 1,800 pounds, and then I ship them off to the sale. That's it. I don't touch them after that. And then they get a portion of the profits of that, what they've done. And then they have to pay back the feed that they put into the animals to get them to that weight, let's say. Sometimes they ship them earlier than that. They ship them to somebody else that finishes them. Or sometimes they ship them to a butchering facility, or sometimes they ship them like to feedlots in the Midwest, and they're finished off. But the way that we're doing it is we have them from the time that they are born on the farm until they're cut into steaks and ground into hamburger. And then, so the small farm receives the entire profit from that animal. And if a small farm is going to survive, they have to be able to meet their bills. And if all you're doing is meeting your bills, why would you do it? Way of life? Yeah, maybe. But there's a tremendous amount of profit there. And if you just keep passing it on to the next guy, then you never realize it. So going into the more in-depth processes like butchering and then marketing the products makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. I'll tell you when it doesn't make sense is if you feed out 200 steers. There's no way you can process 200 animals and then market that meat. There's just no way. I mean, maybe, but it would take many, many years and a lot of know-how to do that. And it's pretty big thing for somebody, even to market 50 is hard, is very, very hard. But 10, no, that's doable. That's doable. And to process 10 beef in, say, from December 1st until March 30th, oh, that's doable. That's doable for a small crew. Very doable. And if you're realizing all of the profits from those animals, that's a good chunk of change. That's a real good chunk of change. And you can run the farm on that, right? Those numbers are available. And, it ranges from about $7,500 to $10,000 in profit. And all people don't have the grassland to graze like we do. All people don't have, the equipment to handle all of that yet. It's taken us time to get that together. And now that it is together, we're still not at 10, but we're in the ballpark there. So we're realizing the potential of this, right? And where it's a seasonal operation, we're only butchering beef from, say, December to March. December, January, February, March. You have the holidays in there where not much gets done. At least around here, it doesn't, it seems, because we have the kids come home and I don't know. They take kind of personal when I put them to work, So they try to plan things that are away, so they don't have to be. Hey, are you doing anything right now? Maybe you could help me with this. There's your coveralls hanging there. So we didn't see a lot of that this year, but in the years past we have. So I think that the small farms industry has the potential to blossom because we do have people that want to do this. They've tasted the cubicle lifestyle and the compartmentalized world of corporate, whatever it is, and they don't particularly like it. It just doesn't. It's not a fulfilling thing, and I know what that's like. Having been in the Air Force for 20 years, you don't do everything. You have a career field, and you do that. Other people do stuff, and I wonder what it's like to be doing what those guys do. You'll never know because it's not your career field, right? And each career field has its pros and cons. And career field I was in, I was always dirty, always battling greasy uniforms and severe outdoor temperatures and all that for what I was doing. But anyway, a lot of people, I think, would, and talented people too, and we know this to be true because when we offer our classes in processing pigs and chickens and beef, we have a lot of very diverse people that come, and I'm starting to see, I've told you this before, we're starting to see a different class of people. And I'm not saying a better class of people. I'm just saying a different class of people that have trained for other career fields that took a lot of doing, and then they say, I don't want to do this anymore. Or, yeah, I like being an MD, but I want to know how to process pigs too. And we just had that happen this year. We actually had an MD in our hog processing class. In that class, we had a Navy officer, a retired naval officer, up there in rank. We had an engineer from Kenworth. He's high up in the corporation, but wanted to learn how to do what we're doing. Hey, can you see if you can fix my comments? They're just not coming on. I got a different screen here. My assistant's going to come in and help real quick, and then I'll continue to pontificate. There they are. All right. Well, that's better because I can get to see who's here. All right. So let me go through that a little bit. And I want to talk more about the labor system. I want to talk more about that and what I take into consideration when I'm doing this, because I think that it's something that has benefited us, and I think it will benefit other homesteads as well. And it'll benefit the people that you bring in to help you with your processes. All right, before we go, we got Jay-Z in the house. Right on, man. I know Jay-Z always listens to us, but he's not always at the show, the live show. So I highly encourage you to comment on here because I love to interact with people. Something about this job and being able to do what I want to do all day and build the system of this farm is really gratifying. I like it. I really like it. And I spent a lot of hours doing it. And my thought process is right on. Thoughts come to me and I kind of, where do they come from? But then when I get a chance to come on and do this show and interact with you all, I get a bang out of it. I really like it. So I don't care how many views there are. YouTube doesn't pay me. I just get to use their platform. But Jay-Z's with us. International Homesteading is with us. Mrs. International Homesteading had a baby. I just got notification this morning, so I don't know when she had her baby, but it was baby number 8. So they're neck and neck with the Baker crowd because we had 8. I think they're trying to pull ahead a little bit. Pull ahead. 9. I can see it. I can see it coming. That's Beth the cleric. So she just had a baby. Apparently, he was quite the lunker, too. He was 9 pounds and 8 ounces or so. I got a picture of him here. Tommy sent me a picture this morning. We were just down their house checking out their new farm. What a kick. I'll show you this picture of this baby. Yeah. There he is. Look at that guy. Look at that guy. I had a couple suggestions that they should name him, but I don't think they went with my suggestions. I went with Rudolph. I thought that would be kind of a good name, around Christmas time, and I didn't get anything on that. 9 pounds, 12 ounces, good size baby. Yeah, he's a lunker. And they didn't go with Rudolph, so I thought maybe Hermie would be a good name. Hermie from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the little elf that wanted to be a dentist instead of an elf. Hermie doesn't like to make toys. Well, they went with Franklin. How about that? I'm just seeing that. And my son's name is Frank. His name is actually Francis, but we call him. Well, that's nice. That's cool. I hope you guys call him Frank. But you call him what you want. I like him anyway. I like to declare kids. Oh, yeah, he's got flaming hair. Flaming red face. Outstanding. Outstanding. That's nice. And Beth is doing great. She's good at having babies. She pops them right out. Okay, well, thanks, Intentional Homesteading. Appreciate it. Jamie's with us because you tell the truth, Mark. I've learned a ton from you and hope to make it to your farm someday. Well, I hope you do too. I hope you do. You stick to the truth, Mark. I've learned a lot watching you and appreciate my style. Yeah. Oh, that's good. I guess I'm one of those, you either love them or hate them. Just Me is with us. Jay-Z says Trudeau goes down. Yeah, and there's going to be a bunch more that go down with him. Oh, the effect, the Trump effect is unbelievable. I'm thinking about vacationing over in Greenland soon. And I heard that old Marjorie Taylor Greene, this is no joke, she put a bill before Congress to rename the Gulf of Mexico and call it the Gulf of America. And these people are just rubbing it in. Okay, McKenna Hicks is with us. It's not really McKenna Hicks, but I know. I'm here. Good to hear from you, says Abundant Living, your health and your wellness coach. That's Jill. And she is, by the way, she is an outstanding Abundant Living educator. She is really outstanding. I've learned more from that girl about the abundant world that we live in. And I think maybe I kind of take it and equate it to farming. Just unbelievable. Belva's with us, and Brian Jacob. I prefer my labor to be part of a sort of fiefdom system. Well, it can be. I think mine is kind of like that in a way, because my laborers, they look to me for guidance, and if they don't, they're out of here. So let's see, what was I gonna hit on before I got my comments in here to distract me? For a long time, I couldn't do comments, couldn't do them because they distracted me. And I was told that it's part of being a male is that we have a single track mind, where females are multi-taskers. And so maybe this is me finally getting in with my female side, my feminine side, maybe, because I can read the comments and stay focused. Now, what was I talking about? Anyway. Yeah, maybe Beth could tell me what I was talking about. I know I was talking about labor and training each other. Very, very important. Well, you don't know what I was going to think. Now I don't know what I was going to say, so I could just say anything, and you say he's just picking it up where he left it off. But I had a profound thought, and now I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. So, oh yeah, labor. So, say a guy like Jay-Z, I could see bringing labor in, because let's say that I limit all the pig butchering on this place to just me. I'm the one that does it. Nobody else does it but me. Then I'm tied up on that task, which I've done many, many times, and nobody else is getting a chance to do it. But it also ties me up, so I'm not going on to the next thing. And there are so many things that you can tie into your homestead. I am reading a book again that I've told you all about. No, it's not 80 Acres. I just finished it for the 5th time. I am reading Founding Gardeners, and I don't know who it's by off the top of my head. I don't think I ever knew. It's a book that a friend gave to me and says, you need to read this. And it is about the Revolutionary War. It is about Jefferson, Washington, Franklin, and Adams, and they're our founding fathers, right? But they were also gardeners. And gardening is defined in the front of the book, and pretty much that's what we do. You know, they have a place, a farm, and then they tie in systems. They tie all these systems together. And you don't, you get the feeling real quick, well, George Washington wasn't exactly out there day in and day out hoeing rows, you know. He was more, okay, I want this over here. And then he had a labor force. And I went down there to see his place, Mount Vernon. And, you know, they really put the whole slave thing and how terrible slavery was. But from what I saw, he took very good care of his slaves. And it seemed like they were well fed and they had nice quarters. And, you know, they seemed like pretty happy people. And I think by the time he came on the scene, none of them had been captured. They were just the descendants of those that had been sold into slavery in Africa and brought over. And I'm not advocating for slavery, but I do see a similarity when you are paying somebody, you know, 15, 18 bucks an hour, and you're trading time, their time and expertise for dollars. You can see it. And it's not like the guys that are working for me that if they don't work fast enough, I'm going to whip them, because that's not really going to make them go faster. You know, it's a mutual contract between us. And I want them to walk away with the same, with benefits. They might not be the same benefits that I have. Well, yeah, essentially, because the products that we produce, most of the time we're trading them for either goods and services or dollars. Most of the time, yeah, except the stuff that comes to the house, but that's fueling me and that's fueling family, which they all work here too. So it is kind of the same. My kids could walk off they could escape if they wanted to. And I don't think I'd send anybody out to track them down and haul them back and then cut their foot off so they wouldn't. I don't think I would. And I wonder about that. I honestly wonder about that, the accounts of slavery. So, you know, I just wonder. I mean, I wasn't there and I don't know. But we don't treat our livestock, we don't abuse our livestock like that. We make sure that they have good bedding and good feed and all that. And then it's a mutual trade. I take care of them, they take care of me. So I wonder about that. I know you could be called out on that one pretty hard because it's pretty fashionable, but I don't know. I really don't know. I question everything now, especially history. Oh, Matt Kovacs is with us. All is well, lad. All is well. Missed you, but I realize you got stuff to do on your place. But we definitely have plenty of farm work to do. So taking a break from construction is okay. Okay, you wouldn't have seen much of me today if you were here. Yeah. So when you bring labor on, you're freeing yourself up to go on to the next thing, and that's really important because I feel as though the expansion of the farm is important. You may aim at a goal, and when you reach that, you could say that's it. I'm not going any further. You could say that, but if you have the option to go further, if you give yourself the option to go further, then you have options. You know, instead of being tied into, say, like a sharecropper type deal, you're not tied into that. You can go as far as you want with this. One of the things that I've mentioned before, and I'm just going through this part of the book that I'm reading now, Founding Gardeners again. I highly recommend reading it because if you look at what's going on in the country right now, and you look at the accounts of what was going on in this book, there are some similarities there. You had an active system back then, before the Revolutionary War, that really did not want the colonists to be self-sufficient. They wanted them to be consumers of the products that were coming out of England, and the products that were being traded by the trading companies that used English ships. And then they wanted to bring resources back to England to be processed further, to be further sold and transported. That's what they wanted. And you had colonists that said, I'm going to move out into the perimeter. I'm going to clear me some land and I'm going to farm my own. And they did. And the founding gardeners, Jefferson, Washington, Adams, and Franklin, that was their number one. That was their, because these were the guys that headed up the revolution. They headed it up. I mean, they bled and died for the cause of sovereignty in this country from England. They were dedicated to it. But at the same time, I remember I read a passage last night. At the same time, Washington was facing unbelievable odds against this massive flotilla that came into New York Harbor, thousands of cannon, 35,000 troops, and he had just a handful of dedicated guys. Not a handful, but he didn't have 35,000. He was writing letters to his farm manager at Mount Vernon because, it was very important to neutralize this fighting force that was to the United States or to the colonies to quell this rebellion. But the rebellion couldn't continue if the colonists were not self-sufficient, because if they were depending on England for all of their needs, then it could be cut off. So we see some of that in the United States. Well, I see a lot of it. Maybe you can see some of it, where you see the ag departments, whether it's the federal ag department or the state ag departments, you don't see them promoting small farms. You see them promoting a centralized system of food production. That's what you see. And you got to ask yourself the question, why would any sober person promote that? Because it is fragile. If we have several processing centers that burn down, now we've got a problem. But if we have thousands of them and you see several of them burn down, no problem. It's not even a blip on the radar screen. So if you want food security, which is quite important to make sure your population is getting good quality food and as much as they need, if you want that for a strong society, you would never promote a centralized, but that's what they're doing. So you got to ask yourself the question, I wonder why they are doing that. And, connect the dots. They're not our friends a lot of times. Enough said. I mean, enough said. I don't want to go into that as much. So, and I say this quite often, and sometimes it strikes me that I'm saying this and it's true. Why am I promoting small farms and giving you the how-to and the systems knowledge, and not these government paid employees of ag departments? Why are they not doing that? I mean, they're getting our tax dollars. You would think that they would want to promote food security, but they don't. If anything, they are harder on small farms than the centralized food systems. They kind of they look the other way. That's why you have all these problems in the food system. And enough said. I think people get the idea by now. So with that in mind, I think that we can see with the throwing off of these chains that I believe were thrown off just recently here with a new group of leaders moving into the leadership position, and me having personal contact with the people that work for Robert Kennedy and his mindset on food and farms and small farms and health and nutrition, you can see where leadership wants to go, and it's not where it's been for the last 40 or 50 years. That is, oh, by the way, failing, because look at the health of our population. Not good. Not good at all. That's one of the major problems that he's saying we need to do something about this. But how are we going to do that if the system is built for one thing and one thing only, and it's profit? And I'd say it's even more than that. It's built for control, right? So a small farm, another book that I read is 80 Acres, and I have promoted that. It was written by a guy that grew up less than 5 miles from my house, and he grew up in the 30s here in the county that I live in, Missaukee County, and it's kind of the life and times of a farm family in the 30s. And it's not really about farming, but if you are farming and you live in Missaukee County, there's a lot of cues there where you all of a sudden say, oh, that's how they did this, where we haven't been briefed on that. You kind of have to follow the breadcrumbs and say, oh, okay, well, I've had to make a decision. Am I going to do this or this? Oh, they did this. I think I'll do that too. And the people that grew up on these farms, these 80-acre farms in Missaukee County, they did well. They did very well, actually, compared to the support people who would be the people in town who worked at the general store, or the people that worked at the lumber yard, or worked at the creamery, or the sawmill, or worked for the railroad. That was support. Now you work for the railroad, that's better paying than farming. It's reversed. And if you work at the lumber yard, you're doing about as good as somebody that's farming 80 acres. Maybe not quite as good. Or it depends how you're farming, right? So it's gotten reversed. And how was that done? Threats, intimidation, sleight of hand, appealing to people's weaker side. Here's free money from the government, but you got to do it our way. That's really how it's done. Most of the time it's done contractually. Nobody forces you to milk 300 cows. No one forces you to milk 1,500 cows, own a 1,500 cow dairy. Can you imagine that? I mean, you've got to have a slew of labor. And when you look at their labor force, this ties into what we're talking about tonight. They're specialized. I work here 8 hours a day. My name is Jesus, and I milk cows. That's it. That's all he does. Can he drive tractors? Nope, we can't. We got to kind of hide him. We don't want him out in the field where people would see him. Can he be running the roads and tractors? Nope. Because people won't like that. See, so they centralize, they specialize their people. I know a guy works at a farm, and he's the scraper. So all he does for an 8-hour shift is drive like a Bobcat skid steer type thing with an attachment on the front that's actually a chunk of tire, big tire, tractor tire, and just scrapes manure. a shift. I think they milk 2,000 cows there. So that's all he does. Do you do any? He's a friend, and I said, hey, do you do any field work? No, never have. How long you been there? I've been there since I was like 16. Oh, wow. He's closing on 30 now. So there's not a lot of experience. There's not a lot of moving of people around to get them to understand the entire process, right? And I don't quite know why that is. I mean, if like I want my help to know how to do everything that's happening on this farm, everything. I mean, even my kids have taken care of the books, right? So they can get experience doing that. We're homeschool. So the things that they learn here, and I really need to put a plug for homeschool. I was thinking about this today. I had to run out and get something. Propane, actually. I had to get 100-pounder of propane. Boy, my brain was going. I can really think in the morning. And I'm thinking, wow, it's 20 minutes over there, 20 minutes back, and probably 20 minutes to load. By the time I get somebody to come out and fill his tank, I got to break my back to get it in the truck and then bring it back, roll it in, and then hook it up. And it's for the range that we used Joe was rendering today. And I thought, wow, this is dumb. There's got to be a better way. There is a better way. There's about 3 different ways that are better. I can just expand my propane distribution system. I can. What does that take? Copper tube, some staples, and some T-fittings and a flaring tool. And all of a sudden it comes to me that, yeah, I don't have to run it in the building. I can run it on the outside of the building and it'll be safe. And then I can inspect it on a daily basis. It'll be fine. So by the time I got home, I thought, I don't think I'm ever going to do this again. I'm going to build out that system. But anyway, I was thinking about homeschooling as part of the labor system. So when you think of your homeschooled kids on the farm, reading, writing, and arithmetic, they can knock that out in max 2 hours, max. And then what? Recess, lunch, study hall, gym, home ec, shop class. Matt Kovac, 8th grade shop class, right? I was complimenting him on something that he built here, trimmed out a window. And I was going to have a hard time doing it. And he did it. And I thought, man, that's a work of art. And he says, 8th grade shop class. But he's gotten better. He's gotten better over time. That's way better than 8th grade shop class, Matt. So I started thinking about the labor system and then the raising children system. Wow, they dovetail quite nicely. They really do. I mean, my kids can get in a lot of time on their academics. They still have a lot of time to work on their stuff, like their stuff, whatever it is that they're doing, whether it's Jim designing things on his CAD program and then printing it out with his printer, or it's Frank building out his snowmobiles. He buys old snowmobiles and fixes them up and then runs them around and then resells them and has gotten to be pretty good at it. Jim does too. Jim fools around with his snowmobile a lot. And then their motorcycles, that's their getaway machines. They can get away from the place for a while. And then they're deer hunting, and then they're reading that they do and talking with friends and stuff. So they have a good social life. That's one of the things people say that don't homeschool. Aren't you worried about their socialization skills? I don't know how many times I've heard that. Yeah, I'm going to send them to the public schools so they can be surrounded by other morons all day long and really blue-haired liberal teachers that believe that men can transition into women and women into men. Yeah, I'm going to send them there, an hour bus ride there and an hour bus ride home. That's not a waste of time in lieu of a curriculum that we pick out, learn how to read, learn how to write, learn how to do arithmetic, learn, where the different countries are, a little bit about geography. Well, that's geography. A little bit about geology, a little bit about metallurgy. And then the rest of the time, it's on farm learning how to butcher, how to organize, how to drive stuff, how to build stuff, electricity, how to, how to service the distribution system. Another thing that's really important that homeschool kid is troubleshooting. Before my boys came in the other day to tell me that the water was out, they said, because they knew you come to dad and tell him something's broke, he's going to say, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? And they said, we went in the well pit. The heater wasn't on. There's a little heater in there and on a switch that if it goes below 34, this little heater comes on and then it shuts off when he said that Jim says the heater wasn't on. So right away I'm thinking, oh, okay, we probably got some sort of freeze up. And I maybe started to worry, panic a little bit, but I thought, wait a minute, Jill made coffee this morning. So it was working this morning at 7. Something must have happened in between 7 and 8. Or 7 and whatever time, 8:30. So what could that be? Electrical distribution could be down. So there's no electric out there. And so I know right where I'm going to start. I know right what I'm going to look at first. And so, but they had troubleshot it as far as they could. And then when all was said and done, I said, we're going to sit down and with a piece of paper and a pen and some components, I'm going to show you how this works. And the next time this happens, you may be able to solve this problem. Because I wound up talking to a guy later in the day. Oh, Keith. I was talking to Keith Sutton. And he said, yeah, my neighbor's system went down too. Happened to coincide with 15 degrees Fahrenheit, for 5 days. But Keith, he's kind of laid up still. He's kind of stoved up from his injury. He says, I couldn't get under his house to do it. And he wound up having to call a well driller to come out. Well, that's not a cheap call. I can tell you that. It is not a cheap call. And if you got to call him, chances are 15 other people have called him. So you get in line, pal. And in the meantime, you don't have water. So that's when you don't have water, you realize how important water is because, you can't make coffee. You can't water the animals. You can't. Oh, boy, there's so many things you can't do. And I love water. No, I don't buy smart water. It's just a bottle that somebody bought, and I yanked it out of the trash. And I can't bear to throw it away because it's such a nice bottle. It's such a nice bottle. But buying water from the store, that would buy me a couple of. This thing was probably $2, and that would buy me several board feet of lumber. And I got all the water I want here at the farm. I just have to do a little planning. Oh, Keith Sutton is with us. Oh, good news, Brian. Good news. Brian Jacob just said Cash is back out of public school finally. I did not like the sound of that. I did not like the sound of that spirit going into the public school system. I did not like that one bit. I know he's doing well. wrestling and all that stuff. But that is a guy that if you just leave him alone, he will be an outstanding man. Just leave him alone. Never mind, feed him a little bit of projects and challenges and give him some stuff. Give him a hatchet, give him some rope. A friend of mine used to say that. Get your kid a hatchet and some rope. Turn him loose. Anyway, yeah, so I think when we bring labor on, it frees us up to do other things. And it also increases our homestead resiliency. So the other day when we had a system failure, which was absolutely my fault, when I got out there, I said, if I'd have just come out here and looked at this for 1 second, I would have known I need to backfill this well pit more to prevent it from having a freeze up problem. I took one look at it and said, I see what happened. And so what did I do? I backfilled it as soon as I got it running. I got the loader out. I got some, I had to use compost because everything else was kind of frozen up. So I used compost and I banked it up around the sides. Not a problem. I will take a shower tonight. And I will have the confidence to know that I will make it through the shampooing process without, oh no, the water's down, And we've had water problems here in the past because of a new system. And, there's just things that you don't quite see and you didn't know. Like, I did not know this. I brought the water in the house. I'll share this with you, so maybe this doesn't happen to you. But I brought the water into the house 3 feet down from the surface, and I thought, that's fine. They talk about, you got to be 6 feet down. Maybe when you're going under a driveway, because when the driveway thaws and the moisture goes down into the ground and then you drive over it, they say it drives the frost down. It doesn't make sense to me. The frost has to have, or the cold, the frost, it has to have a medium that it can travel in. And it cannot travel in dry material like sand or dry dirt. And I'm supposed to believe that 4 feet down, it can be wet. I don't think I believe that, right? Because I've dug a lot of post holes on this place. And unless it's someplace where we have really high water, like close to swamps and stuff, where you go down 2 feet and your hole is full of water, I don't think you're going to have it. And I never have. I never have. But then where I brought it in the house, we had a thaw in February, and all the snow that was on the roof thawed, and all the snow everywhere thawed. So we had fresh water just going down. And then it got quite a ways down, and then it got cold again. Bitter cold. So right under the eave, where the water had been dripping down, the frost followed that water down to where that water pipe is, 3 feet down, yes indeed, and froze it solid. And did I know where it was? No, I didn't. I didn't know where it was froze. So I guess I could have got a backhoe and started digging, but I would have destroyed so much property just so I could have water in the house, which is pretty important. So I decided to do a workaround. I got a hose and I connected it to the butcher shop and ran it up to the house. And then I put a fitting under the house. So I have to go into the basement, hook it on, and then turn the water on in the butcher shop. And we had water to the house. But then at night, I had to pull that hose in to the house. So yeah, it was a little bit of a hassle, but big of a hassle as going to have to take a shower down in the butcher shop. which we don't have a shower down there. So yeah, it was a hassle, but it was one I was willing to live with. And then I figured out where it was freezing. And the fix on that, I put a piece of steel over that where the water comes down, and it never happened since. Now, the first year after that, I was kind of, you get up in the morning, cold morning, turn the water on, we got water, So it was a little, there was a little bit of testing that had to be done. And yeah, I think I've worked through that. That was many years ago. I did have another system failure. When we, and Matt knew about this, when we brought water into the new milk house, we had never had water in there in the whole time in here. And we brought it in from the new butcher shop. We ditched it in through the milk parlor. Now the milk parlor is inside. It's in the basement of the barn. I buried it down 2 feet in dry material. It's dry dirt in the milk parlor. And where the cows stand, it's about 4 from that. So it's right on the edge of the foundation, down 2 feet. And wow, when we had a 12 below degree day, and water froze up only into the milk house though. So I had water at the shop, at the butcher shop. I had water at the house. I had water at the commercial kitchen, or scullery, maybe we'll call it the scullery. No, I can't do that. The pergola, we'll call it. And so I knew, well, the ice plug has to be between here and here. And so we got to looking at it, and totally ignorant to where that could be. Just totally ignorant. I just didn't think, I couldn't figure out where it was. And I thought that it was probably where it was buried, not only 2 feet, but in dry material. We dug that all up. It wasn't too hard. Some of my boys were here home on leave. And so I slapped the shovel in their hands and say, I need you to dig this. And they don't mind digging. And they were all goofing around, slapping backs. And so it was like old times. And we got all the way up to where the water comes into the milk house, through the concrete. And in that concrete, quite a ways in to the building too, it froze right there. So the concrete acts heat sink or a cold sink. So concrete actually will transfer cold from the outside. And so I had to hammer out around that with a little jackhammer that I have. And I hammered out about that big, and then put a heater down in there. And sure enough, freed it up. But in the process of doing that, we took the system, that entire system, because it's a cold water coming in, and then there's a heater in the milk house, and it sends hot water back. We had the whole system exposed except for that concrete place. And I tried to think, well, if I cut the system in half, if I clip the lines, I'll know it's either on this half or this half. So I cut down my system by 50%, and I got in there with my clippers and I cut the line, the PEX line. No big deal. And Jeff, hey, we got water here. So I know it's not on this side, it's on this side. So where is it? And so we start looking, and it's got to be here. But anyway, when I connected those lines back up, I reversed them. And in my mind, when I was doing it, I thought, what could happen? Well, what happened was the outlet from the water heater, the on-demand water heater, was trying to force hot water into the inlet pressure. And the heater wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. It would come on for a second and then shut off like, I'm hot, I'm good. And so I looked at the troubleshooting guide. I did everything that I could with the information that I had, and finally said, okay, if we're going to have hot water in this milk house, which we need to open it up, we're still not in there. If we're going to do that, I'm going to have to call somebody. You know, there's nobody here that knows what to do. And so I called Aaron Pluger. I'm going to put a plug in for Pluger Mechanical. He's the guy I'm calling from now on. I'm calling him. I called another guy that is smaller, and I thought Aaron's way too big to come out to the farm. He's got a big operation. But he answered the phone. I'm like, I got a problem. He said, okay, well, I'm working on one. I'll be right out. So from now on, I'm calling Pluger Mechanical. And if anybody wants his phone number, just contact me or just look it up. Pluger, Pluger. And he came out and he had it troubleshot in 20 minutes. And he says, is there any way these lines could be reversed? And I said, yes, there is. There is that possibility. I don't think I did it, but I did. So it was definitely me. You know, it was my fault. I should have known, but I didn't. But now I do. Now I do. So I got some systems knowledge on on-demand water systems, like up close and personal. And after he was done with it, although at the sink, the red line coming down is cold now, and the blue line coming down is hot. So other than that, it works perfectly. So you turn it on, and in about 20 seconds, you've got steam coming out of there, the hottest water that you could ever want. And and then I got to visit with Aaron and stuff, see how his business is going and all that stuff. So I got that fixed, Matt. I got that because when Matt was here the other day, I was trying to fix it, and I was like, this is beyond my pay grade here, you know. So anyway, things are going good here. Wow, 9:22. I really have gone a half an hour over. So that's it. That's going to be my labor systems thoughts. And I think anything that you do on the homestead, even organizing what you're going to do for the day, becomes a system of thought. And we, as a group, as a team here today, got a lot done and actually set ourselves up for tomorrow. And we're going to really knock out a bunch of work tomorrow, too. Just a point of interest. I hope Jill's not listening to this. We knocked down one of our Guernsey cows about 3 weeks ago. And the reason why was because her uterus, according to Dave Armstead, our AI technician, her uterus was turned down and it was way open. So there was no way that she was ever going to have another calf. In his opinion is based on that's what he does all day long is he inseminates cows. So he knows what he's doing. He probably has far more experience doing that than the veterinarian does. Veterinarian doesn't actually do that. Or our vet doesn't. And he's highly skilled. So Aaron said, or Dave said, she's not going to calf again. That's it. And we said, okay, then we're going to butcher her. She was a real nice cow. We really liked her. She's got a name. She's been around here for a long time. Near as we can figure, she's between 6 and 8 years old. And I'm starting to lean more towards 8. Big cow, Guernsey. You'd think an 8-year-old cow, well, at least we could make hamburger. Well, I'm here to tell you that the steaks that we got from her, the kids call them butter steaks. It's some of the best beef, hands down, that has ever come through this farm. And we're trying to figure out Well, is it just that 8-year-old cows taste better? Is it that Guernseys taste better? Is it that the feed that she's getting is just better feed? And a lot of you know that I have a bread disposal contract with a company around here that makes some really nice bread. And in the wintertime, in with their ration that they get for their grain ration that they get when they're being milked, we've been upping their calorie intake, and they're getting 3 loaves of bread each. Now, we worked up to that, started them with a loaf and then 2 loaves, and now they get 3 loaves. And I'm thinking that we're going to go to Fun has been getting her share of really nice sourdough bread. I mean, you can eat it. Humans can eat it. It's stuff's in great shape. It's just the service that these guys provide is they don't put a lot of additives in it or none. And so the bread is only on the shelf for about 3 or 4 days, and then it comes off. And they build that into the price of the bread, so we get a lot of bread. And so I'm starting to think it's from the bread that she's been eating that marbled her meat so superbly. It's like nothing I've seen in a standard, or other than like a specialty Wagyu that's fed a special ration that cost $1 million, and then they massage them. This is unbelievable. Years old, unbelievable. So don't ever let that thought creep into your mind that, an old cow ain't good for nothing but hamburgers to be sold at Burger King. Our experience has been the older milk cows are producing phenomenal beef. Phenomenal. Now, we butchered Endeavor, who was our bull. And yeah, I know, Sean. I can hear you now. Mark, you said you're never going to have a bull on the farm again. Yeah, I know. But I did. And Endeavor turned out to be a bull. And when he get to be pushing 3 years old, he would give you the side eye and he'd paw the ground, and he never did anything. But it's like testing explosives with a hammer. Bang. Hey, it didn't go off. So I'll hit it a little harder. Bang. It didn't go off. But when it goes off, it's too late. So having a bull that finally goes berserk and kills you, well, only killed one kid, I guess you could say. You just, no bulls, no more bulls, at least not at my experience level. When they start acting weird like that, I don't know where the line is. So no bulls, no more bulls. And you can take that to the bank, Sean. Well, maybe not. Because I actually have a bull right now. I have a bull calf that we didn't catch when he was about a day old. And when he gets to be a week old, we can't catch him now. Now he's 6 months old, and if you caught him, you'd have a tiger by the tail. So not going to happen. So we're just going to leave him in with the steers. And there is one milk cow, or there is one cow down there, but we're not going to keep him around past about 24 months, and then he'll go through the shop, right, to be 3 years old. Because bulls, if they smell the milk cows coming in heat, they're getting to them, and I'm not going to have that happening here anymore like it did before. All right. Well, that's going to be it for tonight. I appreciate everybody coming out. Oh, Jill was here. She didn't want me talking about that beef because she wants to keep it for us. We gave some to John Spears, my buddy that does all of our automotive work, because he's been a good partner, but a lot. And the burger was so good. Butter burgers, so good. So we're going to keep most of it for us. All right, I'm going to midwinter meetup. We are not going to do that here at Baker's Green Acres, and there's no other reason than we don't have a place to do it. Our butcher shop is cranking, so we don't have the time to move everything out of the way. But I heard that it might be going on some other farm. I heard that. Of course, I don't know because they might be a little overwhelmed with a new baby in the house. But, if that was to happen, they got a new farm and they got a nice place there. I might participate in that if I were asked. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of subjects that we could talk about. It's nice to get together and, midwinter, everybody needs a little fellowship. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm just putting it out there. If it happens, it happens. All right. There is no consulting call tomorrow night. If you want to get in on the consulting calls Wednesday night, which seems to be the special sauce that everybody wants, you need to be a member of Tribe Plus, which is a site you gotta shell out, and then you get one-on-one consulting or 1-on-10 consulting, but everybody gets a chance to talk. It's a Zoom call, so I get to see your cute little face. You get to see mine, and you get to ask questions. And then we go as deep as we need to, or shallow. Sometimes we talk about all kinds of things. We've talked about urine therapy on that consulting call. Sometimes you never know what people want to talk about, but mostly it's farm stuff, and that's the reason for it. But if you want to get in on that, you got to go to bakersgreenacres.com and then get yourself signed up for Tribe Plus. And then you have to pay, right? And then you get you get consulting. Other than that, if you want consulting with me and you want to ring the phone, it's $100 per hour. And I will talk to you for an hour on the phone. If you want me to come to your farm, it gets even more, plus plane fare if I got to go, and I don't fly second class either. Now, consulting's a big thing. It really is a big thing. You can go and make the mistakes yourself, or you can have somebody that's been doing this for a while say, I wouldn't do that, or yeah, I would do that. Or if you're going to do that, maybe you want to think about this, or you can just go into it blindly and make your own mistakes. But if you want to get ahead, it makes sense to talk to those who know. So maybe you have people around you or something like that, but I don't cheap except on this live stream. And I'm real cheap, free. All right, remember, anyone can farm, and we will see you next time. Thanks for coming by.